Hello everyone, my name is Rajinder Sharma. I am Associate Professor in Department of CSC. I have been allocated Information Security in this semester and the topic of my presentation is Active Attacks in Information Security. So security attack is nothing but any action that will compromise the security of an individual or an organization. It is called security attack. So security attacks are classified into two categories. One is active attack and next is your passive attack. So active attacks are nothing but when an attacker actively participates in the transmission which is ongoing between the sender and the receiver, it attempts to alter the information or affect the operation which is going on between the sender and the receiver. Such type of attacks are called the active attacks. Passive attacks. In passive attacks, the attacker sits silently. It observes the traffic which is going on between the sender and the receiver. So, attacker attempts to learn or make the use of information from the system. It does not affect the system resources. It monitors the transmission, and the target of the attacker is to obtain the information which is being transmitted between the sender and the receiver. So, active attacks are further categorized into four types. First is your masquerade attack. Second is the replay attack. Third is modification of the message attack. Then fourth is denial of service attack. So let us have a look on these attacks one by one. First is masquerade attack. This attack happens when an entity pretends to be a authenticated one, although it is not, but it pretends to be an authenticated one. This is a scenario where Bob is the sender, Alice is the receiver. This cloud represents the communication network that is used to transmit the data from Bob to the Alice. And here comes the attacker, Darth, who is actually observing the traffic which is going on between the Bob and the Alice, or the transmission which is happening between the Bob and the Alice. So in masquerade attack, Darth actually have the username and password of the Bob, and it will send the messages from his own computer, from his own system to the Alice. And for Alice, the message which are coming, she don't know about the Darth, but will assume that the messages whichever are coming are from the Bob. So in return, she may share the confidential information with the attacker. And that is the purpose of the attacker, which is solved very beautifully just by stealing the username and the password of the Bob. Now, in return, he can also manipulate the files which are in the system of the Bob, or may use the resources which are authorized to the Bob. So this attack is very severe one. So masquerade attack in short takes place when an entity pretends to be an authentic one, just like Darth appears as a Bob to the Alice, although he is not. And this attack is generally done to steal the information from the system or to get the access to the system. So next is your replay attack. Bob is the sender, Alice is the receiver, communication network is there. The data is being transmitted from the Bob to the Alice. So Bob sends a message to the Alice. After the message is being sent, then the Darth comes in the picture. He will actually observe the packets and will capture these packets. These packets are being captured by the attacker, and later on these packets may be modified, or the same copy of the packet may be sent back to the Alice, or the messages are relayed to the Alice. Now Alice will get the multiple copies of the same message and her system will be overflooded. So this is how replay attack happens. So replay attacks involves the passive capture of the data unit. Passive capture means the hacker will sit silently in between the transmission which is going on between the Alice and the Bob, and he will capture the data without even knowing the Bob that information is being captured. And its subsequent transmission, because when the data will be transmitted again and again, it will produce an unauthorized effect. This attack is also known as playback attack because the attacker keeps on sending the multiple copies of same data again and again, and will cause the network jam or the delay in the transmission. So next attack is message modification attack or modification of the message attack. Now Bob is the sender, Alice is the receiver, communication cloud is there. Then Bob sends the message to the Alice. So this is the message which is for the Alice, and the attacker will capture these packets or the messages which are being sent from the Bob to the Alice, but before it reaches the Alice, these packets are being captured by the Dart, and they are being modified by the Dart and will be relayed back to the Alice. So the messages which are received by the Alice are corrupted one, and she don't know about the corrupted message. So Alice do not know about the Dart and will think that the message which are coming from the Dart are from the Bob, and may share the confidential information in return. So this attack is also very severe. So this generally happens when some portion of the message is altered, or the message is delayed, or it is reordered to produce the unauthorized effect. When the message is modified after the sender sends and it reaches the legitimate receiver, then such attack is called modification of the message attack. That means this attack happens after the data is being sent by the sender, but before it is being received by the receiver. On the way, the data is being captured and it is modified. Certain portion of the message may be modified, or the message can be stopped for some time. Later on, it is delivered so that the message unordering can be happened, or message can be delayed for some time. So this is called modification of the message attack. Then last is denial of service attack. Here Bob is the sender and he may want to use this resource as a server. But the Dart and attacker will try that Bob should not get any instance of the server. So he keeps on flooding the network with multiple messages and overload the messages to the network capacity. So the server will be busy in processing these messages and will not actually surface the Bob. Whenever the Bob requires the server, the DOS message will be generated and sent back to the Bob. So the overflooding of the server will be happening so that it should not serve any of the user in the network, and will give the denial of the service message. So this is called denial of service attack. And this, as we can see, the messages are flooded onto the network so as to overload the server and disrupts its normal functioning. Then server is busy because the network is overflooded with the message to the capacity of the network. So server is busy in processing the message on the network and will not able to process the messages which are being sent by the bot. So denial of service attack prevents the normal use or the management of communication facilities, that is making the network unavailable for those who want to communicate securely. For example, two person want to communicate with the use of server through the network, but the overflooding of the network will not allow them to use the communication network securely. Generally, this attack is always for the specified target, and the network is flooded in such a way that network shuts down, and because of overload, it is not able to serve any of the user in the network. Hence, the entire bandwidth is consumed in processing the packets which are being sent by the attacker. So these were all about the uh, active attacks. So thank you very much for the patient listening. Thank you so much.